Things in the show would return to normal with Tommy joining the team. However, Tommy's Sentai counterpart dies after a bit, so there would only be a limited amount of Sentai footage to use for most of the Ranger and Zord fights involving him. So after about 10 episodes, it was time to say goodbye to Tommy in the two-parter, The Green Candle. The episode begins with Zack and Tommy training before Tommy confesses that he's nervous about asking Kim out to an upcoming dance. I normally don't get into the shipping of characters because that shit gets real cringe real fast, but Kim and Tommy's relationship is the one I'll always stand by as the best one both are involved with. And I'm sure it won't be botched at all.
I haven't asked her. What? I don't know. I guess I'm nervous.
Time to see what Rita and her crew are up to. Apparently, they've made a magic candle that will steal back all of Tommy's powers. We're gonna stop and unpack that. Why did it take you mouth breathers this long to come up with this idea? Wouldn't you have instantly gone with the plan of trying to get the powers back? Why fight the Rangers when they've become even stronger? It'd be one thing if doing the same routine was a cover to avoid suspicion while the candle was being made, but that's never stated, and no other reason is given why it's taken this long. Rita also needs a map and a mini version of her wand to find Tommy, even though her telescope can easily find him, but we need to burn Sentai footage, I guess. Putties are sent to take Tommy's power coin because that's a needed bit for the spell to work. And right when Tommy was about to ask Kim to the dance too. The fight itself is pretty good with both Tommy and Kim putting up a good fight, but ultimately being unable to beat the numbers game. Goldar then teleports down to then teleport the putties away. Why not just go with them initially? Then there's the fact that he could have taken Kim's morpher. It's right there and Goldar can clearly see it. You could take out two Rangers at once, but I guess Goldar is all about that bare minimum. Tommy is taken to the dimension seen in Green with Evil and given an ultimatum. Either serve Rita or lose your powers. Not sure why you'd give him that choice when you should know the answer would be no, considering you brainwashed him previously. Finster reveals a new monster called the Cyclops who can take on any form. I'm sure that'll have an immense relevance and won't be forgotten about at all. Back with the other Rangers, and Kim is far more stressed out than others.
Another one of Rita's wicked plans. She's gonna try and regain control of Tommy.
It's a good bit of characterization considering Kim and Tommy have a closer relationship with each other than the other Rangers. She would also feel partly responsible considering she was unable to save him. It's a small but good touch. Especially if there's a possibility of Tommy being brainwashed again and having to go through that hell. Speaking of brainwashing, however, why doesn't Rita just brainwash Tommy again now that she has him? I don't know why Goldar makes Tommy the offer of joining Rita considering he should know that Tommy would never do it of his own free will. Anyways, the Dragon Zord is attacking the city, but it's clearly the Cyclops considering we already know what his powers are. But it's fine if the audience knows it, because what matters is if the characters do.
My sensors indicate the Dragon Zord we see is an imposter.
One of Rita's creations?
Oh, I thought the whole point of him transforming into other things was to trick the Rangers.
Isn't it all pointless?
Goldar is called to confront the Rangers, so he binds Tommy's hand so he can't just take the candle and put it out. While that is at least somewhat smart, why not also bind his legs so he can't knock the candle over and stomp on it? The Rangers then head out, and instead of using their Zords to stop the rampaging monster, they start fighting the Putties and Goldar.
We're destroying the city! We gotta do something, and fast!
No shit, you wobbegong. You literally saw it rampaging from the viewing globe. They finally summon the Zords after Animus knows how much damage was caused. Goldar teleports back to the holding dimension and unbinds Tommy? Why would you do that, you moronic simiaform? This proves to be a very stupid idea, because Tommy then attacks Goldar and manages to grab his sword and uses it to escape. I'm just going to ignore the fact that Tommy can just use Goldar's sword, given he doesn't know how the teleportation works, aside from the movements to activate it. For all he knows, it could just be a habit Goldar has and it's not required to activate the teleportation. However, the fact that Goldar just stands there instead of instantly going for his sword and lets Tommy tell him that he knows how his sword works is idiotic. You had ample time to stop Tommy before he teleported. Hell, instead of fighting Tommy, just bind him again or something. To add to Goldar's idiocy is the fact that he didn't just give Tommy's morpher to Rita. He apparently has been holding on to it this entire time, even when he clearly wasn't. Then we have Tommy teleporting to the Rangers, even though he had no idea where they were, and it even appears he did it by accident.
Damn continuity! Damn it to hell!
The Rangers manage to drive off the Cyclops, but the candle still burns. They head back to the command center where Alpha scans Tommy's body for any damage from traveling through dimensions. Which I have to say is a neat detail. Going from one dimension to another could put a huge tax on one's body. But we can't have something sensible without the usual Zordon knowing need-to-know information.
Rita has a special form of wax from the Gamma Tri-System. Once touched, it retains a person's body energy.
Zordon says that one of the Rangers has to venture into the dark dimension to get the candle. However, Tommy can't because the candle will burn faster with him near it. I'm not sure how to feel about this. On the one hand, it makes some level of sense as Rita would want to get the powers faster. That and the team will be down one Ranger. On the other, if Rita lit the candle and didn't even bother with trying to kidnap Tommy, they would have never even known until Tommy was stripped of his powers. So it leads on the stupid side, but there's at least something of an argument to be made for keeping Tommy near the candle. Jason offers to go inside because he's the only one that's been there. True, though I'm not sure why that matters, but whatever. However, we get a corny but nice moment with Tommy and the Rangers.
There's no way I'm gonna risk something happening to Jason because of me. I'm not gonna stand by and watch while we lose a teammate.
Jason speaks for all of us, Tommy.
Yeah.
Perhaps I've just been exposed to so much sewage in recent times, but it's always nice to see everyone in character. Tommy's guilt for touching the wax, and possibly any lingering guilt he might have for doing so many terrible things while brainwashed, is also a nice touch. Am I reading too much into that last part? Probably, but it's understandable one might infer it. Alpha manages to pick up where the doorway to the dark dimension is in the park. Billy then builds portal generators off-screen, in what I can only assume is maybe an hour at most. How is Billy not a top contender for any super genius in any category? This bastard built a flying car in his garage and casually built portal generators in an afternoon. I fucking love this Tizumi show. You know, I feel like something is missing. Like, there isn't enough pure autism in this episode. There they are. The best characters have arrived. Bulk and Skull go to check up on the Rangers as they are trespassing on their hill.
Anyone can visit. Yeah. Anybody but you, brainiac.
Know your fucking place, Billy. The Cyclops launches an attack and Tommy goes out to fight it. Meanwhile, the candle is pretty low. Even without Tommy there, it still burned pretty fast. Almost like it would have been the smarter thing to just light it and not even bother with kidnapping Tommy. Before Jason goes in, he tells the others to close the portal after he goes in. Not a particularly smart move. I understand that he wouldn't want Goldar coming through, but Rita can just send putties to your location, and you all should know this. The better option would be to leave it open just in case things got too difficult so Jason could make a quick escape. Same thing if he managed to grab the candle. Then there's the fact that only one person goes in. I get not taking all or even most of the Rangers, but at least let one other person come along to increase your chances of getting the candle. Tommy is getting beat pretty bad, so Zordon has to recall the Rangers in order to help him. Now, this is actually pretty good stuff. It's a difficult choice to make, all things considered. Do they let Rita get the powers and risk a repeat of what happened last time she had a Ranger on her side? Or do they get the powers but potentially lose a friend? Zordon, of course, can't let that happen. As much as I rag on him keeping need-to-know information from the Rangers, this choice is completely within character. Zordon feels he's responsible for the development and safety of the Rangers. Even if it's their choice to be there, he was still the one to recruit them. Plus, another reason that we'll get into a bit later. Goldar just lets them leave, but in all fairness, he was recovering slightly, and the primary goal is to take Tommy's powers. While taking out the other Rangers would certainly be a huge bonus and should be attempted given the chance, Tommy losing his powers and said powers going to Rita is still a massive gain for obvious reasons. So Goldar has a higher IQ than Cinder. Granted, that's not really an impressive feat, but still worth mentioning. The Rangers morph and help Tommy destroy the Cyclops. The candle, however, burns out. But Zordon has one last solution. He tells Tommy to give his power coin to Jason, which will prevent Rita from gaining his powers. Now, some of you may ask why not simply do this from the start. Well, it doesn't stop Tommy from losing his powers. All it does is keep Rita from getting them and allows the team to keep the Dragon Zord, Dragon Dagger, and Dragon Shield. Tommy is still morphed when he gives his coin to Jason, so there's plenty enough to infer from this scene. Kim checks up on Tommy in the park to see how he's doing.
How are you doing?
I'm hanging.
There was always pretty solid chemistry between these two. Would be a shame if something stupid were to happen later on, but I'm positive they'll stay together and nothing retarded will ever happen. The episode then ends with Kim and Tommy finally kissing and Kim agreeing to be Tommy's date to the dance. The green candle is a massive step up from Green with Evil in terms of quality. While I'd hesitate to call it good, the structural issues are nowhere near as detrimental, likely due to the fact of this being only a 2-parter instead of 5. However, the issues are still very noticeable. Goldar being stupid by not binding Tommy from the start or giving Rita his morpher. Rita even allowing Tommy to know about the candle in the first place. If she didn't kidnap him, then the Rangers wouldn't have found out about the candle and she would have gotten the powers. Much like with Green with Evil, it's very fun and nostalgic with good moments, but it's still not particularly good. Tommy wouldn't make another appearance until Doomsday, which was supposed to be the last episode of Power Rangers, believe it or not. But of course, the series was still doing immensely well, so Saban ordered new footage from Toei to be made. And because they could order new footage to be made, that means Tommy could come back, which leads us into Return of an Old Friend. It's Parents' Day at the community center, and all the Rangers' parents are gathered. And yes, they are indeed as stereotypical as you'd expect. Billy's dad looks about as nerdy as him, Jason's dad looks like a meathead, Skull's parents are dressed in weird punk attire like him, and the Rangers' parents wear the same color clothing as their child's Ranger color. Well, not all. Zach's parents are normal as well as Bulk's, oddly enough. What I assume is Kim's mom arrives and wants to know where she is as she points out that her dad is here. Unfortunately, we have to cut to Rita. I say unfortunately because she comes up with another plan that makes you really wonder if her IQ is below room temperature.
So if we can distract the Power Rangers, the animal can hypnotize their parents and kidnap them.
Kidnapping the Rangers' parents should have been one of the first things you do, assuming you're holding off on the Eclipse plan for some reason. More importantly, why are you not using the mole's hypno-stank on the Rangers too? You accomplish the same thing without the unnecessary hoops of ransoming them. Trini finds Kim sulking about her parents' divorce.
I don't know. Sometimes I just think this is all my fault.
I wish they'd spend more time on that. It'd add a bit more to Kim besides the Valley Girl stereotype. Both are then attacked by putties, with Jason and Zach joining them. The mole then unleashes his hypno-stank and the parents are captured. Imagine if the Rangers were in the building. The world would be yours, Rita. You idiot. Billy arrives late and Rita brainwashes him with the hypno-stank. Man, if only you did this when all the Rangers were there. Then again, Billy is remarkably stupid in this scene.
This has got to be a hoax.
Hey, what kind of hoax is this?
After all this time, how could you not suspect Rita, Billy? He then goes to the command center, deactivates Alpha, and just magics the Dragon Dagger into his hands. Okay, but how though? The Dragon Dagger is Jason's now. Tommy transferred his powers to him, so how can Billy just magic it into his hand? The others find the juice bar empty, and none of them put the pieces together.
What's going on?
How can a room full of people just disappear into thin air?
How are you all this stupid? You were attacked by putties right before you walked in to find your parents to be gone. It shouldn't take a genius to figure this shit out.
Alright, what is Rita up to now?
Trini, you were literally wondering how a room full of people disappeared not even 5 minutes ago. I guess her brain turned on during the teleporting. They morph and head back to the dark dimension where Billy is about to give Goldar the Dragon Dagger, and they just stand there, morphed. And Billy is not. You all have enhanced speed. Stop standing there and at least try to get the Dragon Dagger back, you mouth breathers. Man, everyone is just extra stupid today for some reason. Goldar takes the Dragon Dagger and gives the Rangers an ultimatum. Either give him their power coins or their parents die. But instead of making that decision right now, he gives them a time limit. Oh, but it's to enhance the drama of the situation. Indeed, and it's very artificial, as we'll see later on. I know there's only so many times I can call Rita stupid before it becomes redundant, but Rita is really stupid. Giving the Rangers any time to potentially come up with an out when you have them in the palm of your hand right now is fucking retarded. Especially if you've been losing to them on a consistent basis like Rita has. The Rangers then do something smart. They morph and go out to try and stop the Dragon Zord. They fail and jump out of the Megazord for some reason, even though it didn't take much damage. And apparently the hourglass has already ran out. It's almost like it was completely pointless. Anyways, the Rangers surrender their power coins, and to the shock of absolutely no one, Goldar doesn't keep his promise.
You have what you want, Goldar. Our power coins. Give us back our parents.
Did you really think I'd return them back to you?
Are you mildly retarded?
I can't believe we trusted Godar.
Well, what else could we have done?
Well, Zordon has a fix on your parents, so why not try and teleport them out? You have teleported out of alternate dimensions before, so why can't you at least try to do it here? Jason points out that they still have the green power coin. Wait, hold on. Wouldn't Rita want that too? She knows it's not useless since it allows Jason to use the shield, dagger, and Dragon Zord. And it's better to have all 6 so you can eliminate any chance of them doing something with it. Speaking of the Green Ranger coin...
Where's everybody?
Go, Green Ranger! Go, go!
Well, that was not very good. Perhaps part 2 will be better.
Now we destroy Angel Grove.
But you literally did that last episode. This is gonna be rough, isn't it? Tommy is teleported to the command center and given his power coin. After being caught up, Zordon says that he'll infuse the power coin with his own energy.
No. This is a risk I'm willing to take. When do we begin?
I do miss traditional heroism and basic adherence to established core character traits. If it means saving innocent people and getting the others' powers back, Tommy is willing to risk his life. But aside from that, it's also why they couldn't do it when Tommy lost his powers in the first place. There really wasn't a need to put Tommy's life in danger considering the others all had their powers too. However, this is a very dire situation that requires this action. Tommy's powers are restored and he goes to fight Goldar, who just has the power coins out in the open. Why are they not safely tucked within Rita's palace, you anthropoidal troglodyte? After all this time, all you morons should have picked up that the Rangers could find a way to get the coins back. So it's best for them to just be in the safest place you can find. Another immensely stupid thing about this scene is that the Rangers don't help Tommy. Sure, they can't take on Goldar, but they could more than handle the putties, making Tommy's job much easier. You'd also make it much easier for Zordon to stay connected with them. Instead, they just stand there like fucking morons. Tommy manages to get the Dragon Dagger and we get a random Zord fight. Rather than try and overwhelm Tommy with superior numbers to get the Dragon Dagger back, Goldar decides to engage the Dragon Zord with Scorpina. Maybe making Goldar intentionally retarded happened earlier than I remember. Zordon is fading, so they decide to bring Tommy back. Meanwhile, Goldar and Scorpina teleport away as the power coins are unguarded right before Tommy is teleported with said coins. Why the fuck did you leave the coins in the first place, you mongoloided Catarine? This is also why you should have just teleported the coins back to Rita's palace once you got them. And what were the putties doing while Tommy was controlling the Dragon Zord? Just gawking at him? They're still there and they attack him after the Zord fight, but it's a bit too late because Tommy manages to get the power coins. And where the fuck did Goldar go after he teleported? Wouldn't he want to go straight to the coins afterwards? Tommy passes out from the stress, and Zordon seems to be lost. But the other Rangers use their power coins to bring him back. Huzzah! But there's still the problem with their parents being kidnapped. I'm surprised Rita still has them all alive at this point. And considering that her entire plan went tits up, might as well kill them or at least try.
You numbskulls! You had Green Ranger and you let him get away!
It's almost like you should have brought the coins to your palace the second you got them, you idiot. Adding upon her stupidity, if Rita's stank mole is destroyed, the Ranger's parents are freed. The Rangers go out and fight the stank mole, but all of them except Kim are brainwashed and attack her. Meanwhile, Tommy begins floating because he absorbed the power of the force field surrounding the coins. Wow, that must have been a really shitty force field then. It also restores his powers. Fuck it, why not? Unironically makes more sense than anything in these episodes so far. Tommy goes to help and frees the ones under stank control by making a random light, I guess. They then get into a Zord fight, which would be cool if it wasn't this shitty day for night filter, making it hard to see shit. The editors also played some wrong footage. Dragon Zord battle mode is formed, but then they go for the Ultra Zord, and it's clearly not battle mode, but the Mega Dragon Zord. The monster is defeated and the Ranger's parents are saved. Said parents also remember nothing. How convenient. Tommy's back in the fold, but his powers could fail at any time, so Zordon asks if he still wants to be part of the team. Tommy, being Tommy, says he's here to stay. As small as this may be, it's still a nice positive. Even though Tommy has his powers back in some form, Zordon still worries about his safety, so he offers him the choice to stay if he wants. Granted, Zordon probably knows what his choice will be, but the fact that he gave it shows that he cares. Tommy's response shows his consistently strong moral fiber. Much like when he was told about the dangers of his powers being restored, he understands the risk presented, but if it means helping his friends and saving people, he'll do it. Again, it's small. It doesn't fix any of the massive issues, but it's still a nice nugget of gold. Return of an Old Friend is really bad. The initial idea of ransoming the Ranger's parents is a decent one on paper, but instantly falls apart once you look at the execution. Rita could have decisively won if she waited until all the Rangers were in the juice bar. All the coins would have been hers as well as the Rangers themselves. If anything, Tommy having to fight against his friends would have been an infinitely better two-parter, especially if he didn't have his powers through the majority of it. Speaking of Tommy, he just randomly shows up to the juice bar for some reason. We don't see his parents there. There's no mention of him coming or that he was going to surprise Kim or anything. He just so happens to show up right after the others give their coins except the Green Ranger coin, because Rita just so happened to not ask for it for some reason. It's a big bucket of contrived idiocy. With Tommy back, the series trucked along as per usual, and Season 2 was obviously inevitable. And with it came the first original villain, Lord Zed, who replaced Rita as the main bad guy. The Rangers would then get new Zords except for Tommy, as his ever-weakening powers couldn't sustain one. Said weakening powers would grow weaker as Zed would try and drain them in various ways. This running through line would lead into the last story for today's video, Green No More. The episode begins with Tommy lamenting the possible results of a test to see the current state of his powers. Kim tries to comfort him, but they're interrupted by a wild future Tommy who gives them a message.
Final battle. Remember, communicator.
Oh boy, time travel. That's always a good sign. Anyways, this episode is also home to one of the funniest missed opportunities in Mighty Morphin. You see, we have a team of 5 assholes with attitude who Zed chooses to be his team of evil Rangers. Keep this in mind, I am not done with it yet. Zed also has a crystal that drains Tommy's powers. He doesn't have to get Tommy to touch it or anything, it just drains it. Why not make multiple, but fuck it, moving on. The results of the test are in, and Zordon confirms that Tommy's powers cannot be fully restored, and that he has enough for one last morph. There's not too much to comment on here, the scene is perfectly fine, but it's still important. We then cut to the others at the beach, and Kim is naturally worried about Tommy. The evil teens then show up, and they are the corniest fucking people I can remember in Mighty Morphin. And that is saying something.
Angel Grove belongs to us now. When we're done with you guys, you're gonna start seeing things our way.
They are every bully stereotype wrapped into a 90s tortilla, and it's hilarious. Zed then teleports them away so he can make them his Dark Rangers.
What happened to them?
I don't know.
Billy, who else can teleport people besides Zordon? The fact that after all this time you don't suspect the evil galactic wizard when this shit happens is fucking retarded. Speaking of Zed, he creates a monster out of the shell Kim was going to collect. Said monster will be sent for an attack, forcing Tommy to morph and use the last of his powers. All the while, Lord Zed works on his Dark Rangers. Seems like a decent plan on paper, but why bother with the shell monster in the first place? Just let the crystal drain Tommy's powers while you prepare things with the Dark Rangers, or even just send them in as your way of draining Tommy's powers. It's certainly better than Rita's plan with the green candle, but it's still suboptimal. Shellman starts destroying the city, and Tommy, without any hesitation, despite knowing what will happen, is going to hell. This will be touched more upon during the conclusion of this entire series, but it goes to show what basic character consistency can do for even a very flawed story. The Rangers form the Thunder Megazord, and right away you can tell something is off. You see, Shellman and the Dragon Zord are from different Sentai than the Thunder Megazord, so the fights are a bit awkward as Shellman doesn't actually come in contact with the Thunder Megazord. I get it though. They had unused footage they needed to burn through, and it's not horrendously done. It just makes for lame Zord fights when neither can be on screen at the same time. Shellman manages to knock the Rangers out of their Zords, but decides to retreat. Normally, I'd ask why, but they give a reason.
What are you doing back here, you worthless worm? I had to recharge my skull, your hideousness.
Okay, he used up a lot of his power and now needs to recharge in order to sufficiently finish the job. Very simple, but at least something reasonable. And Zed is not happy at all.
I had to burn the ropes, Lord Zed. What? Oh, and you let them go when you could have finished them, you mollusk brain!
A very logical response, in all honesty. Zed is on the verge of ridding Tommy of his powers, and seeing Shellman not pressing his advantage against the Rangers would naturally piss him off. Again, simple, but also very reasonable. I wish there was more of these things in the episodes that we've talked about today. Especially Return of an Old Friend, but I digress. Tommy is teleported away and Shellman manages to drain him of his powers. Meanwhile, the other Rangers are teleported to Zed's dimension and it's time. Behold the Dark Ranger! They look so bad. How is it they could make something as cool looking as Zed that still manages to hold up today and these great value looking putty patroller rejects in the same season? The Dark Rangers don't even do anything. They're the definition of pointless and they can't even look cool. It's terrible and hilarious. The episode ends with Tommy hiding himself from Shellman, powerless and without his friends to help. An actual decent episode, at least compared to what we've seen today. Part 2 begins with Tommy using his head to fight Shellman, catching him off guard with surprise attacks, using the terrain to his advantage, and exploiting Shellman's lack of mobility. And when Tommy tries to fight him head-on, he's easily overpowered. Actual thought was put into how Tommy without his powers could possibly fight him. Putting forth effort to make your story coherent and sensical makes it better. What a novel concept. Unfortunately, we have a massive problem. Zed put an energy shield around the command center, cutting the Rangers off from Alpha and Zordon. Not only that, but it'll eventually crush the command center. This raises the obvious question of why hasn't Zed used this before, and why doesn't he continue to use it after? In fact, why doesn't he use it on the Rangers themselves every time? Especially since it cuts off the Rangers from their powers?
I'm sending you back to Earth, where without their precious powers...
How does that even work mechanically? The command center has had almost all power cut from it, and the Rangers could still morph, so it's not dependent on the command center. Zed didn't do anything to their morphers either. There is no explanation given at all as to why this cuts off their ability to morph. Zed lets them go so they can witness the destruction of Angel Grove as punishment for stopping his plans. While that is indeed a reason why he doesn't just kill them, it is a stupid-ass reason, and I've elected to explain why. Letting them go allows them time to get access to their powers, and considering Billy was smart enough to build something that reversed the spell cast on the Zords at the beginning of the season, it should be a logical conclusion that there's a real possibility he could do it for the command center. Letting them go is dumb. Zed has the ability to brainwash people very easily, and having 10 evil rangers is factually better than 5. Letting them go is dumb. Given the absurdity of Zed's magic, it would be well within the realm of believability for him to magic up a projection in the other world for the Rangers to watch while still being kept prisoner. Goldar does it this very episode. Letting them go is dumb. In pretty much every other episode, Zed's primary goal is destroying the Power Rangers. Letting them go is dumb. Back with Tommy as Goldar shows him his past as the Green Ranger, and it's actually a pretty damn good scene.
Witness the greatness you once were, Tommy, because it's all over now.
Goldar showing Tommy all his past accomplishments he was only able to do with his powers, reinforcing that without them he won't be able to help like he once did, that his friends will have a harder time against Zed without him, and given who Tommy is as a person, this would be devastating for him given he's never hesitated when it comes to helping others, always wanting to do the right thing even at his own detriment. And if I'm to get a little high-toppy, the shot of Goldar standing behind Tommy as he watches the things he'll never be able to do again is an underrated one. You don't really see it talked about when discussing Mighty Morphin. Billy does science-tisms and has found a way to contact Zordon. Aw man, it's like letting them go was a really bad idea. Zed also says this when we cut back to him.
The Zords will be reprogrammed.
Why do you need the Zords when you can make them grow? Why are they not giant-sized with Shellman right now destroying the city? Anyways, Goldar demands that Tommy acknowledge him as his superior before he yeets him into space. Tommy, however, has a rebuttal.
Out of your mind!
Now, the thinky part of my brain is wondering why Goldar just stood there like a geriatric macaque, or why Tommy would use such an obvious attack in the first place. However, the child clapping at the keys jingling part of my brain just went into overload. Unfortunately, it doesn't last very long because we have some time-space tismry to talk about. So, remember that message Tommy got in part 1? Tommy doesn't send one to his past self. Instead, he contacts his past self, who gives him a communicator. A few things here. Point 1. Since Tommy doesn't send a message to himself in the past, then he never received it in the first place, meaning his past self couldn't get this message and he couldn't have gotten his communicator or teleported out of the other world. Point 2. Tommy's communicator was never damaged or taken away, and since we see he has what looks to be his communicator throughout the episode, why does he need to get one from his past self? Point 3. If that isn't his communicator, that means Tommy forgot it at some point. Something very out of character considering he almost always has it on him at all times. No matter how you look at it, not only does it not make sense from a character standpoint, it also makes no sense mechanically due to the fumbling of the time tismry. Tommy reunites with the other Rangers right when they get in contact with Zordon. How Tommy knew to get here, I don't know. Zordon says that they need to destroy the green crystal in order to return things to normal. I have some questions. How does that follow exactly? The green crystal is connected to Tommy's powers, which was established earlier. Now it's connected to everything which has not been made apparent. And I do mean everything, because when Tommy breaks the crystal, it depowers the Dark Rangers. Because reasons. And it's not even the only issue with this scene. Tommy grabs the crystal as loud as possible, and Zed just stands there like an idiot instead of shooting his immensely fast lightning at Tommy, who doesn't just smash it instantly when he grabs it. Hell, he doesn't even attempt to kill Tommy when he decides to gloat.
Kingston!
to jaw and face!
And the final cherry on top of this nonsense is the crystal had apparently taken the other Rangers' morphers. For some reason. One thing that does make some bit of sense is Tommy absorbing enough power for one last morph when he touched the crystal. It's a bit headcanon-y, but it's not an unreasonable assumption that some of the power released when he smashed the crystal could have been returned to his power coin. It certainly makes more sense than solving 99% of the issues in this episode. The Rangers form the Thunder Megazord and engage with Shellman before everyone besides Jason is knocked out like a minute later. Then the Red Dragon Thunderzord just fucks off. Sure, we got Sentai footage to burn through, so why not? Zordon contacts Tommy and tells him that the only way to beat Shellman is to expose his insides to heat and cool him off from the outside. Seems simple enough. Summon the Dragon Zord and then jump from its head into his mouth, then...
That's right, Wormface.
How's that for someone to leave this for me? Yum, yum.
Hold up. Just stop. I can only handle so much nonsense at once. Shellman randomly gets hungry a second after Zordon informed Tommy. Tommy then hides in a pile of watermelons that is just randomly there. Shellman then eats that exact pile that Tommy was in, even though Tommy had no idea Shellman was even considering on eating anything. And even by some cosmic miracle that he knew exactly which box Shellman was going to eat, the level of convenience is so staggering to be unbelievable. Yes, I understand this is Power Rangers, but realism is not the same thing as believability. To add even more to the nonsense, once Tommy is inside Shellman, he pulls out a laser rifle from thin air. Then Zack uses a fire hose to cool off Shellman from the outside. You heard that right. A normal-ass fire hose not only reaches up to Shellman's torso, but it covers his whole body. Sometimes I just can't with this show.
This mega heater of yours worked perfectly.
Thanks.
That still doesn't make it any less stupid. Billy just so happens to have the exact thing they need in order to stop Shellman, and him getting and giving it to Tommy happened off screen. Why not just give Tommy your blade blast? Fuck it. The Megazord is reformed and Shellman is killed. Cut to the juice bar and the evil teens walk in. Did you forget them? Well, so did the writers, so I understand if you did. Kim then suggests that they might just need some friends, which, I'm sorry, Kim, that's retarded. They're all friends with each other, so pretty sure they're covered on that. But more importantly, they've made it very clear they don't want any friends outside their group. They go around antagonizing people for no other reason besides just wanting to be hostile dicks, and they have been nothing but that. You guys treat Bulk and Skull like jokes for doing the exact same things. Hell, the evil teens are worse considering Bulk and Skull are just giant dorks who act tough, yet none of you even attempt to extend a hand of friendship to them. But you'll do so to factually worse people? That's fucking stupid and kind of ruins their characters a bit. Moreover, the evil teens actually did want friends, which doesn't make sense for the same reasons I've listed as to why it makes no sense for the Rangers to be friends with them in the first place. Thankfully, that's not how the episode ends. Tommy is thanked for saving the day, and they give one last group cheer with Tommy and Green.
Power Rangers!
Green No More has issues. A lot of issues. Gigantic issues. So I can't call it good. The Dark Rangers, on top of being a meme and how terrible they look, are fundamentally pointless to the entire plot. There's no fight with the other Rangers. They don't attack the city with Shellman. They're not involved with draining Tommy of his powers. They just stand there and do nothing. They are a waste of time, and said time could have gone into something else. The time tissery effectively kneecaps the plot into oblivion. Zed is a fucking idiot to the point where he actively ruins his own plan, and the contrivance near the end is through the fucking roof. I mean, it's really bad. Despite all these immense issues, though, I can't help but still love it. Much like with Green with Evil, it's the small character moments that manage to make my cold, dead heart beat with happiness. That last cheer with Tommy still in green still brings a single tear to my eye all these years later. While that may be the last proper episode of the Green Ranger era, there is still Missing Green, which acts as an epilogue to the Green Ranger saga. I won't go super in-depth, but it's still worth mentioning. It revolves around Jason feeling guilty for not getting the Green Candle, Zed remaking the Green Candle, but for the other Rangers except Jason, for some reason. As per usual, the plot is held together with paper clips, but it's decent in terms of character work. Simple, sure. Jason manages to save the others from the same fate as Tommy, redeeming himself at least in his eyes, and Tommy himself saying he never held anything against him. But it's effective nonetheless. The Green Ranger is Tommy's most popular incarnation, and it's very easy to see why. He was part of a lot of firsts of the series, and major ones at that. The first Sixth Ranger, the first status quo shakeup, the first multi-parter, the first real consistent through line in general with Zed trying to drain his powers. His look was unique, but not so different to clash with the other Rangers, and do I need to gush about his Zord any more than I have? And that is the end of part 1. Because as much as I love Power Rangers and Tommy as a character, there's so much material to cover, and I want to work on other projects I have on the back burner. When we eventually come back to Tommy, things will be a bit brighter.